My dad always believed in me. He thought, buried somewhere deep in that pudgy blonde Ron Weasley, there was a Casanova just waiting to break out. He really thought I was going to be like a lady killer one day. So when I was heading to college, I remember he was like, I got a little something for your dorm. And he pulled out the biggest box of condoms I have ever seen. Like, it was, I don't know what you call it. What I thought about when I was told about summertime is something we didn't list here, which was summer love. Summer love is like, you know, that's what I think of when I think of summer. Or in my earlier years, the lack of summer love that I wanted to have that I did not have. So I have a couple of stories kind of about that. So the first thing I'll tell you is something that's probably not too jarring just by looking at me, but I would really, if you could act surprised, that would help my ego a lot. Are we in on that?
Yeah.
Are you ready? So I wasn't getting laid a lot in high school, which I know, right? Everyone, yeah, they were just like, oh, wow. I know. I was not known for dating in my small town of Hazard, Kentucky. In fact, one year, my junior year, there was a scandal in which the president of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes was found to have premarital sex with the vice president of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I know, you can't even trust the Fellowship of Christian Athletes these days. And so they tried to remedy that situation the next year when they had elections by voting me president of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. A couple of relevant details. I was not a Christian or an athlete, but they knew I wasn't going to fuck. So they were like, that's our guy. We're not going to have the same scandal twice. That was sort of my situation. And yeah, you know, it wasn't the best. My dad always believed in me. He thought, buried somewhere deep in that pudgy blonde Ron Weasley, there was a Casanova just waiting to break out. He really thought I was going to be like a lady killer one day. So when I was heading to college, I remember he was like, I got a little something for your dorm. And he pulled out the biggest box of condoms I have ever seen. Like, it was, I don't know where you buy it. This didn't look like my condoms. This looked like our condoms. It looked like I was starting a Planned Parenthood from scratch. Like, and I didn't know. I was like, how much does my dad think I'm going to be having sex? I just had a bit of a oh my God reaction. And he goes, oh, no, these are for sex. Which I was like, well, yeah, I know that. He said that like I didn't know. Like I was going to call him a few months in and just be like, yeah, Dad, these slippery balloons you bought are so much fun. We're making balloon animals, we're having a grand time. But against all odds, I got to college and somehow found a girlfriend and started going through that giant box of condoms. It was underneath my bed. It actually propped my bed up a little. But the first time I stayed the night over at her house, I ran into a tremendous problem. I didn't have my giant box of condoms, and I needed condoms. And I know that doesn't sound like a crazy task, going and purchasing like condoms, but I don't know if I could like get across how socially awkward I was at that time in my life. I know I'm standing on a stage telling you about my teenage sex life, but if I had tried to do this, then I would have imploded into a small little ball like a neutron star. I would have become like a little dense ball and fallen and rolled away, and you never would have seen me again. I was not good at talking to people. And buying condoms is a strange transaction. You're basically telling someone, like, I plan to fuck imminently. And now you know that. You know what I'm saying? So it's a weird transaction. But I got the courage to go, and I went down there, and I remember I walked in, and as soon as I got in there, at the corner store, I looked over to see who the cashier was. I'm not sure who I wanted it to be, but the lady behind there was just very stern looking, and she looked like her name was Agatha, and she had only had sex for procreation, never for pleasure, just like God intended. Very like, I was like, oh, not her. So I was walking around trying to figure out how I go about the process, and I was like, okay, maybe I should make it look like I'm really here to buy like Powerade and Funyuns. And the condoms are kind of like an impulse buy, you know what I mean? Because we were near a college campus, so they were behind the counter. I had to tell her which ones I wanted. So I was like, oh, so I loaded my arms down, and then I walked up and I just dumped them there, and then I was like, oh, and I'll have one condom, please. Just, you know, in case I have sex on the way back home. I guess I'll have one for the road. And so I was like, what of your finest condom? And she said, what kind? Which was a question I didn't anticipate. Because previously, I just had my box. I had normal. I didn't know there were genres of condom. You understand? So I look up to see like a full wall of possibilities hitting my face, and I'm like, oh God, I wasn't prepared. Like I was looking, and there was like an ultra thin, which like that feels unsafe. It feels like they should either all be ultra thin or none of them should be ultra thin. I feel like there was like a ribbed condom, and I was like, a ribbed? Have I been using the boneless condoms? Why is there a ribbed condom? And then there were magnums, and I knew better. So like I all of these options were sort of hitting me. And I know it sounds crazy, but like because I was so nervous and it was so awkward, and I don't know, I started kind of having a bit of a panic attack. And so my pulse goes up, and I'm breathing a little heavy, and I started to get a little fuzzy around my vision. And she goes, "What kind, sir?" Like I didn't hear her the first time, and my brain just says, "Okay, just say one. Just pick one. Just the next condom you see, say that." So she said that, and I said, "Oh, tropical flavors." And she stopped scanning and went, "Really? No one's ever bought that kind." And I was becoming the small little ball. I was like imploding inside myself. I was like, oh my God. I had 100,000 options. I picked the one wrong option. So my brain was like, okay, just end this conversation. Just say whatever you need to get the hell out of here. So she said that, and I said, well, you know me. And then I stared at my shoes for the rest of the transaction. And I took all of my like weird snacks and my condoms that tasted like pomegranate kumquat, and then I left. And I remember standing outside, just sort of looking at the package and going, no. And then I threw them away. And then I went to my girlfriend's apartment and said, you'll never guess, they were out of every single kind of condom. But I got us some Powerade and some bunnies. Do I have time for one more short one?
Sure do.
Okay, because I have 10 minutes. But that was a good applause. I appreciate that applause.
Yeah.
Monique is still not here. So we might get out of tune for it. The other story I have real quick was the first time that I thought that I was ever going to have sex when I was just a young tyke. I like that you said, what was the summer camp you said?
I went to Camp Huckins.
Okay, yeah. The one that was like the nerd camp though.
Oh,
Explo.
Yeah.
I went to a nerd camp. Yeah. I went to the Vanderbilt Summer Academy, which, I know, don't I seem intimidating now. It basically all it was just like someone would call up your parents and be like, hey, you know that time that they don't have to go to school? What if you made them go to school and it didn't count towards anything and we charged you a lot of money? And my parents said, well, pay double to get him out of the house. So I was sent to Vanderbilt, and the University of Vanderbilt just Avengers assembled 300 very nerdy, very hard to be around children, just to be nerdy on campus and very horny the entire time there. And I was probably around like 16. And I was in a bad position because back in Hazard, because I told you, I was elected Fellowship of Christian Athletes leader, I was a very goody two-shoes child. I once stubbed my toe in Hazard and said sassafras as my curse. That was the level of goody two-shoes that I was at. And so when I went to nerd camp, that was my chance to try to be cool amongst other uncool people. So I showed up like in band t-shirts, you know. I was, I think I still look like Ron Weasley, but I look like Ron Weasley like the fourth movie of Harry Potter where they have longer hair for some reason. Like it's like short hair, long hair, short hair, like that one. But like kind of emo. And I was like very cool there. I was putting together new curse words because I had never cursed before. So I was being very innovative. I was putting together words you've never heard next to each other. I was just in the laboratory like, what do we think about piss damn? Anyone? No? Okay. Fuckle nut. What do we think about this one? Is this a good curse? And for somehow, like through that, I had someone who was like interested in me, and I was very excited. This was very new, but I didn't know how to take it to the next step, and she didn't either. We were both very socially incompetent. We were both nerds, but we were teamed up to go on a scavenger hunt, and we had to go to the very top of this building on a college campus. We went there. We got in the elevator, and we've been having a great time. A lot of fun. We've been laughing. But as soon as we got on the elevator and the elevator started to go up, she got very quiet. And not only that, she looked like she was shaking a little. And I didn't know what to do. And I was like, oh, hey, are you okay? And she said, yeah, so sorry. I hate to make this weird. I have this terrible elevator fetish. So the first thing I thought was, oh my God, God is real. He's real, and he's such a nice guy that even though I turned my back on him, he put me in the middle of a weird porno. This is fantastic. This is the best day of my life. Hallelujah, hallelujah. How great is our God? My second thought was there's no way she said that. There's absolutely no way she said that. But I have to ask her if she said that, and I can't ask like I didn't like what she said. I have to ask like I did. So maybe ask like a cool guy. Ask like, a really cool guy would, is what I thought in my head. So it all happened in like a second. And I said like, what? What'd you say? It was like my best attempt because I learned how to be cool from Disney Channel. And she said, yeah, I know, I have this terrible fear of elevators.
Oh.
Yeah. So some of you realize this future English major, confused fetish and phobia, which we've all been there. Am I right? Like, I'm glad we nipped it there, and so there wasn't like 12 years or 15 years in the future, just some guy at a bar like, I don't know, man, she said she was just really into spiders. So I was like, kind of weird, but I guess we can try it. And then she's not called me back. But the Beau in the elevator didn't make the connection that was what happened. I still thought I was going to get laid on an elevator. I was like, oh, you're scared of him, but like you like him too, right? You know what I mean? And she was like, no, I hate them. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm very confused. And we discussed and we realized, oh no, there's been a terrible miscommunication. And that killed whatever there was between it because I was so embarrassed that I thought I was going to get laid on an elevator. She was embarrassed that she confused fetish and phobia. So nothing ever happened. But it ended up working out. We remained friends. We both ended up going to the same college and being in the same dorm. She would always make fun of me because I thought I was going to get laid on an elevator. I made fun of her because when she got to UK, they put her on the 14th floor. So she had to use the elevator every single day. And that's my other story. Thank you all so much.
Let's hear it for Manny, everyone! That was great! Okay, so now we have a little bit of like Q&A. So, we all have these stories that resonate. First reactions. Did that really like touch a nerve with anyone? Anyone else have like an awkward first condom buying experience? Yeah, we've all been there. We've all been there. It's been great. So Beau, tell me about that box. Did it stay under your bed the entire time?
Yeah, I never got through the whole thing.
Yeah.
I feel like it was way too optimistic that I was ever going to be able to get through that.
Did you ever ask your dad about like why did you buy me the Costco size version of this?
It was like a Costco for Costco size.
Yeah.
Like and I think I asked him, and he was like, "It was a great sale. Like, was this whole thing?" And I was like, "But where?" And he was like, "It was a great sale, though."
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a man about a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have questions for Beau? Things they want to know more about? Things that piqued their interest?
Why not Gatorade?
Why not Gatorade? That's a great question. I feel like I was like, that was the time that like G2 was out. Do you remember G2?
That was like the watery
It was
Gatorade?
fucking awful. So
Yeah.
I feel like G2 was out, and there was mostly G2 out in stores because they were really pushing that. And I was like, I'll do Powerade before I do G2. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Yeah. So that's where it was at.
That was a no.
Did you ever tell her the truth as to why you came back with
No,
Aw.
I never did. I
wanted
tried
you
to forget
say
that.
You never like called her.
She
and
might
was
have
like,
seen
hey,
me.
I told this story and never told you that I lied.
She might have seen me do like stand-up or storytelling, and I might have thrown like a very early version of this in, but I don't think so. So like, she's just out there not knowing why I showed up with Powerade and Funyuns.
Or not even thinking about it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Probably not. She
She's
was
got
just
other
like,
things
okay.
to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long before you bought another box of condoms after that?
Oh,
What brand?
I think I just started carrying them around in my pocket after that. I was just in case I get late on the way. It was a while after that, but then I then I knew the game. I think I did some like pre-reads on different types of condoms and came in like
The Google search.
Yeah, I know exactly what I'm looking for this time. So yeah, I got that.
So what brand?
I think it with Trojan Ecstasy was what I ended up buying after that because it was for her pleasure on the box, and I was like, that's what a nice guy buys. That's what a good guy buys. Not a nice guy. This is a bad connotation. Anyway, we can move on to the next question.
Any other questions or things that resonate, things that stood out, things that you liked about Beau's story? moments that really popped.
All.
All of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
I love your description of Agatha.
Yeah.
That was such a visual in just a few words.
Yeah, and I was thinking at the time, I was like, I don't know who I want it to be. Like, who do
Right.
you want to buy condoms from?
Right.
Like, you know,
Exactly.
so not her, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know what the positive.
Yeah. No, I gotta do it.
The repetition of the visual of the box was very nice.
Mhm.
Of the squishing of cell.
Oh,
Yeah.
It was a really nice symmetry.
Yeah.
Well done.
All right. Can we give one big round of applause for Mr. Beau?